Welcome to the Career Corrective, your career lifeline that gives you laugh lines with Regina, Jenny, and Allie.
Today, we have an article from Forbes. The article is on leadership, and it's plainly called Tips for Leaving the Comfort Zone. Number one is surround yourself with confident people. And the reason for that is because there's a psychological term, associative transformation. It basically says your behavior will change because you're around people who are confident. Jenny, want to weigh in on this?
Absolutely.
Good one.
You're hanging out with Debbie Downers.
It will affect you.
It will.
Pretty simple, straight to the point.
Straight
Okay.
up. Yep.
Take it step by step. They're saying it can feel extremely challenging and daunting to do something big, chunk it down into steps.
Okay. Do they tell you what the steps are, or like you just take it? You're on your own?
Yeah, so I think that this is going to be a lot of what we're going to be able to do, go over what they're saying, see if it's in our minds helpful and legitimate, but where we'll come in is throughout the episodes getting into the more in-depth of how to make it happen, what roadblocks could come up. These are surface level of where to begin, if you will.
Okay. All right.
Great question.
Thanks.
Okay, start small to create habits. It's talking about how you can keep yourself motivated. If it's a habit, you're not taking up any energy from your day. It's just an automatic. And this one is probably my favorite one.
Okay.
And I think it's the hardest thing for me and maybe other people. I'm really good when I get on a mission to do something and I think about it and I'm excited about it. But those little powerful daily habits where it's a no-brainer, that's where the sauce is. And I think that's the most difficult thing to actually do.
I would agree with you on that. I think it takes more effort in the beginning, right?
Yes.
To create that habit.
Yes. And you're not getting dopamine from the change. It's just kind of feels kind of boring. There's no lighting up of the pleasure center to do something that you do every day. It's like, brushing my teeth. What? So a new making something that isn't necessary, like hygiene, a habit, I think is, again, later in talking about these things and how to do it and really making it happen is where it'll be really helpful. But absolutely, creating habit is an amazing idea. The next one is reward yourself for doing uncomfortable things. Make it a daily practice to tackle one thing from your list and reward yourself for doing that and completing the task. What do you think of that one?
Ooh, I like that. Yeah, I like it. Get a little treat one for pushing yourself, right? You get a little treat, whatever it is. Go get yourself a fancy coffee for making that uncomfortable phone call that you were scared to do, or talk on a conference call that you're a little nervous about.
That's actually really good.
I love rewards, so I'm all for it.
I've done this with exercise.
Okay.
So if I exercise in a way where it's something enjoyable and not go too hard or avoid it altogether, then I get to go down to the beach in the evening. So it's just a little trick.
Or talk on a conference call that you're a little nervous about.
I love it. And then train your fearless muscle. Understanding that coming out of the comfort zone is always scary. The way to become good at it is like training a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger you become. The more you face your fear of doing unfamiliar things, the easier it will get. What do you think of that one, Jenny?
Yes. You always talk about training your muscles.
Actually, I do. And I think that Doing things regularly, doing things often is the best way. It goes back to make it a habit. The more you can do to make it the norm, the less you're going to think about it, the less you're going to have a chance to freak out about it.
Right. Don't freak out. Freaking.
Freaking, not freak out.
Yep.
And the final one is make your objective worthy of your discomfort. And I love this one. We are all about staying true to yourself here at the Career Corrective. I think that making the objective worthy of your discomfort means it's got to be meaningful to you and worthy for you. And that's when that's you tag it.
Yeah.
There's no way you can go wrong because it's your dream. It's your dream.
That's right. That's right.
A good list by Forbes. And what you were referencing before, it doesn't give you the how, doesn't give you all the details, but I think it's nice to start out with the fundamentals and that template of what are the things I can do, even if I don't know how to do them yet. A good start.
Right. Yeah, start thinking about it.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yes. Let's give our listeners a little bit of context, shall we? So last week we talked about what's happening when we self-sabotage. Today, can you tell us how the comfort zone is keeping us stuck? And I want to know, how do we break free from that? Can you give us some tips and tricks?
Absolutely. I'll start out with what's happening, and content warning here. You'll want to skip ahead for 2 minutes because I will reference animal testing. This was in the early 1900s. It's not recent, but it's still relevant today and at the heart of what we're talking about. In behavioral psychology, Robert Yerkes and John Dodson conducted one of the first experiments that showed the link between anxiety and performance. Cutting to the heart of it, so that we don't have to stay on this too long, is that they found that when they shocked mice to a certain extent, they would complete the maze. But if they went above a certain threshold, the mice began to hide rather than perform. And this has been shown to be the same in human beings, not at all with shocking, but anxiety-provoking stimuli in your body, whether that comes from a realistic fear or a perceived fear, doesn't matter. If you have a little bit of that, you're going to meet the challenge. It's kind of think of, oh, I'm a little bit nervous, but I'm kind of pumped for the presentation I have to give or the trip I'm going on because I have to fly. You're excited about the benefits of going on the trip, but the flight might make you feel a little bit nervous, but you feel amped up. But if they asked you to fly the plane, then that might be, and you have no training, that would go above what?
That's a bit much, yes.
You would become paralyzed in the metaphorical sense and not be able to perform. That's a very silly example to show you the point, but they developed the Yerkes-Dodson Law, and it's been proven to be true for all types of performance. It could be a stressful task, also relates to our quest of understanding ourselves, relating to others, self-awareness, and emotional intelligence we were talking about on a prior episode. Boils down to our nervous system has a Goldilocks zone, and too little stimulus, then you remain in your comfort zone and boredom sets in and you don't go for the things that you want, but too much and you enter the panic zone. So we're trying to live your dreams in the middle.
Yeah. Right in the comfy, a little more than comfy.
Yes.
Middle.
Yes. Middle.
Okay. Let's help our listeners by creating a clear picture of these so we can map out a path to the zone where they can live their dreams, Allie.
Yeah. There's an amazing graphic on positivepsychology.com, and there's a toolkit there called Leaving the Comfort Zone. Okay. So to make it fun, I want to talk about Elle Woods and her journey.
We're going back. We're going back in time.
All the way to the 1990s. I think that's when that movie came out. I want to illustrate this through the story of Legally Blonde, and it'll be short and sweet. We're not going to rehash the whole movie.
We're not?
No. No. We can talk about Bruiser the dog if you need to.
Okay.
But at the beginning of the movie, Elle Woods is in her comfort zone. So that's the first zone. And in that zone, she happily prepares for what she thinks will be a marriage proposal from Warner.
Ugh.
Warner. In that part of the movie, which is very short, that's not what the movie's about, but she's in her comfort zone. She's in that bubbly safety zone where she's surrounded by people who adore her. They compliment her style. That's really what her life is about. It's about fashion, luxury, parties, status, all of that stuff. And her boyfriend is really the main crux of her identity, fashion and him. And so she's in her comfort zone. Then she goes to the fear zone, which is the next level in this graphic. That's when Warner dumps her. This is where you're really affected by the opinions of others. She tells herself the only way to win him back is proving that she's smart enough. She decides she wants to get into Harvard Law. So the impetus for her going to law school is to regain his approval. So the fear zone is where you're making decisions based on what other people think. And this is something that I am extremely passionate about because as an anxious achiever, I've really carved out my own path and in every aspect of my life and done things that aren't always the most popular. As an example, I've had my family and people that I work with say, you'd be great at this high level in a corporate setting. I've had great jobs in my career and had progression, but there's a certain level where it gets into politics and it's something that I have no interest in. Making decisions based on what you truly feel in your gut and not for external validation is one of the best things that we can help people with. I love to get people out of this fear zone.
I know. Well, that's honestly what I admire most about you is because you do. You just stay true to yourself. And you really do. Always. So.
Thank you. Thank you, I think.
No. And just by listening to you, I always, you keep me on track. Yeah. So I'm glad you can share that with everyone.
Cool. Next, in the world of Elle Woods, she goes on to the learning zone. So this is where you're dealing with challenges and problems because, oh, by the way, not making decisions by what other people think isn't always easy. But when Elle is humiliated on her first day by Professor Stromwell and sent away for being unprepared, that's when she realizes, whoa, this is serious. She decides to buckle down and work through the challenges. She steps up in the learning zone. And then because she does that, she goes on to the growth zone, which is the final one where you're finding your purpose and living your dreams. This is where Elle wins the Brooke Wyndham case by using her knowledge of perms. I think it's hypoxyglycoconate or something. That was the
sounds right. It sounds right.
I know glauconate was in there.
Yeah, for sure. That was a really good example.
I loved it too. It's her journey is all of what we really mean. The character is shallow in the beginning and thinks her life is so full, but it's as fragile as a breakup. She has to really find her identity, and those are all the different phases. So there you have them.
Now it's time to Ask CC, where you can write into the show with your work woes and questions so we can choose some each week to weigh in on them. So please write to us at askcc@thecareercorrective.com. All right, so we got a good one this week.
Yeah.
BB writes, I have joined a new company and was so excited because they talked about the growth mindset in the interview process and the support they provide for you to reach your career goals. And now that I am here, I see that it's completely different. My manager is a micromanager. She's fake and only cares about what leadership wants. I used to feel brave and actually have a growth mindset. Now I just want to hide in the corner. Help.
Okay.
I'm sorry, BB.
I'm sorry, BB, too. A lot of people go through this. I've dealt with this myself, and I have helped other people deal with it. We don't know why they're behaving this way. You're deducing from what you're seeing that she only cares what leadership wants and she's fake. We don't know what's going on in her world as far as what leadership is like to her. So we'll just say, for sake of this discussion, we're going to hone in on the negatives that are being brought into your life, regardless of why she's doing this. Number one, important for you to remember that you are not your job. Think of this in two different ways. One is you have to do what you need to do to survive at work, but the other piece is you want to make sure you preserve as much of who you are as a person. Don't let this experience, as much as possible, change your capability and how you want to be able to perform for yourself. I'm going to talk about both. The first thing, in dealing with your boss. Two things are helpful in dealing with a micromanager in general, and it sounds like it would be helpful here, is over communicating, giving them updates as much as possible. You said they care about what leadership thinks. So it would be taking what leadership wants, putting categories in your email template that define those areas, and then how your job matches up to those things, and have a weekly email that's ready to roll for your manager. And the other piece, starting to have conversations with your boss to understand more of what leadership wants so that you can use that information to give to your boss what they're looking for. Basically, make it about your boss. If she cares about it, regardless of why, get clarity about that. This is what I've done. As an example, I know leadership is really focused on Q1 goals, making sure our cost per hire at blah, blah, blah %. Would it be helpful to you if I gave you a weekly update on our cost per hire, which I know creates more work, but they're asking you anyway? Right. That's an example of what I've done, and it's been successful. But this way you can start to weave into your conversation, now that you've introduced this idea, what's leadership focusing on right now? I'd love to support you in that. And then if they ask you on Tuesday, we're like, yep, that'll be in the weekly email that you get on Thursdays. And then if you need to change the day of the week, you can. It's a way to create a habit for yourself to where it can reduce them harping so much on updates. Does that?
I think that makes sense. I like it.
I love the being proactive to anything to reduce a headache, but make it about them, give them regular updates, and then use that as the basis of your conversations with them. You can keep going back to that practice to modify it to see how it can be most helpful to your relationship. And then on the piece with don't lose yourself and don't lose what is making you happy or makes you excited about your job, is to have your boundaries and self-care. If you think more about all the things you can do to decompress on the way home, or if you work from home, a ritual that can shut down the workday to go into your personal life. I know it's hard, but you don't want to let a toxic work environment make you shrink as a person or make your life about that toxicity. It's just not worth it. And I know a lot of people will want to, if it is this severe, if you can't tolerate it, you'll want to move on from that job. And that is a great idea. as long as you have tools to keep yourself afloat and in a positive mindset as possible until you're able to do that. So I think those are the things that I would suggest.
Very helpful. Thank you, Allie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Are we ready for the next one?
Yeah.
All right. Yes.
We hope you enjoyed this conversation so far. If you like this topic, then go back and listen to our full episode. It's called Comfort Zone and Beyond: How to Grow Without Overwhelm, episode 3. We'll link it in the description below as well.
Have a great week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.